Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason, speaking to you here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. And in this video, I'm going to do a top 10 John Candy films or roles, or whatever you want to say. Top 10 movies that John Candy appears in, basically. This is due to a subscriber, which I'm forgetting on top of my mind which subscriber was, but one of my subscribers gave this suggestion on one of my posts that I did on my channel, which I do post pretty much every day on my channel. By the way, I do a lot of polls, so I do appreciate when people vote on my polls that I do. But yeah, a subscriber said, how about do a top 10 John Candy movies? Which I was like, sure, I can try that. I appreciate any subscriber give me any recommendations or give me any suggestions. I definitely wanted to, I'm here for the subscribers, I'm here for you guys. So yeah, so I put down this top 10. So let's see what it is here on Jason, the Old Millennial. Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well here on a Friday night. And yeah, coming back with another video. Yeah, like I said, my subscriber wanted me to do a top 10 John Candy movies. So I was like, yeah, let's see if I can do that. Because I was wondering, have I seen enough John Candy movies to make a top 10? And I kind of barely have enough that I can put a top 10 together. Because, of course, I can say I haven't seen like every John Candy movie. I don't know if he's done a whole lot of movies. He passed away like in the early maybe not early, but mid 90s, late 90s. I remember him passing away, so been a while. He's obviously very well thought of. Like every time I hear anybody talk about John Candy, they absolutely love John Candy, and they love working. Other actors love working with him, and directors love working with him. So he has definitely very well received in Hollywood and everything. Of course, I know a little bit about him, that he came from Canada. He was on Second City TV, which was their Saturday Night Live there in Canada, basically. And then somewhere in the 80s, I want to say, he started making it into the movie business, and definitely did very well, and pretty soon was starring in his own movies, and was probably one of the best comedic stars of the late 80s, early 90s period, I would say. Yeah, where he was definitely a bankable star. Interesting, of course, he was very overweight. That was kind of part of his comedy, but he wasn't exactly I would say he wasn't exactly using his overweightness as part of the comedy always, or part of the gag, or doing physical comedy. A lot of times you get like Chris Farley or John Belushi's or whatever, and they're very physical comedians. I never felt like he was that way necessarily. And he's a guy that he could play the comedy relief. He also played the straight character very well, I thought. At times he's even better, I think, as kind of the more straight guy, and have somebody else do the more outrageous comedy stuff. And he did very well in that sense. I even thought he did well when some of his comedies, he would do a little drama. He would do a dramatic performance. And I always thought, man, he's actually a pretty good actor and could do more drama if he wanted to. But he's obviously known for his great comedies. And I've seen enough of them. He always put the top 10 together and go, I've always enjoyed John Candy. In fact, some of these, once you get to the top like 5, I really enjoy these movies. And I especially enjoy John Candy's performance in them as well. It's hard when you're putting a top 10 together of someone's performances. It's like, how much do you go by how good the movie is or how good his performance is? Sometimes he's barely in a movie, but he's pretty good in it maybe. And of course, I usually want to put the roles that he really starred in or co-starred in up higher on the list. And yeah, and sometimes, a lot of times, if he had a pretty good part in it, really good movie, that'd be at the top of my list. While I can say that there's some performances maybe that the movie wasn't as good, but his performance was good. Anyway, so saying all that, let's get to the top 10 of John Candy. Number 10, I've got the movie Who's Harry Crumb. Came out in 1989. again, these first couple of films, I can't say a lot because it's been a while since I've seen them. I've seen them maybe once in my life. And Who's Harry Crumb is one that I remember seeing once when I was a kid and enjoying it. That's the one I'd have to see again. But he played like a private eye or some kind who's kind of this bumbling, bumbles and klutzy, I think, and all of that. I don't remember much about the movie, but it's up there. I remember enjoying it as a kid. So it made it here in the number 10 spot. Who's Harry Crumb? Number 9, another movie I haven't seen in a while called Canadian Bacon from 1995. Actually, one of the last movies he made before he passed away. And this is a bit of a parody film, and it's been a while. I thought it was pretty funny at the time. I've seen it. I don't know if it still holds up yet, but I thought I'd still put it in here because I do remember liking a lot of stuff in it. And the whole movie, if you don't know, is what's funny is John Candy's playing an American, and the whole thing is the president has a scandal, I think, or something like that, and so then he starts this blames Canada for basically, and so then John Candy and some of his I think Rhea Perlman's in there, and some of his friends, they go into Canada to invade Canada, I guess, to get back at Canada or something like that. So it's all about them going into Canada. I forget exactly what their mission is. But anyway, so it's kind of funny that John Candy's a Canadian, played American, going up against Canada, his own country. A lot of good Canadian like cameos and stuff like that. I remember Dan Aykroyd has a cameo in this movie as well. Anyways, but yeah, it's definitely very like slapstick comedy stuff. But I remember working at the time anyways. Again, I have to see it again. But yeah, I have Canadian Bacon here, number 9. Number 8, I have Summer Rental from 1985. This is one I've seen a couple times, I think. It's been a while, but I think I've seen it maybe a couple times. This is a good one where John Candy's playing more of the father, bringing his family on summer vacation, and just wanting to give the family a good time on summer vacation. Playing, I want to say more of the straight man in this one, if I remember right. Can't say I remember much, except I think there's like a sailing contest at the end, and and he wins or something. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, I don't remember a lot, except I remember enjoying this, and it's another one I need to go back to. But another good one for John Candy, I think. Like I said, playing the main role here. So number 8, Summer Rental. Number 7, I put in a animation movie because I do like this animation movie, and I think he's actually quite good in it. So I snuck it in here, and that is The Rescuers Down Under from 1990. He plays the albatross, big bird that the two mice travel on to go to Australia. The whole movie is they go to Australia to find this kidnapped boy. The two mice. This is a sequel to the first Rescuers Down Under, and John Candy. The Rescuers. The first movie is called The Rescuers. This was called The Rescuers Down Under because Down Under refers to Australia. Anyways, but yeah, it's a little bit better film than the first one. It's actually pretty good. There's some good animation here, 2D animation for the time. This is like right when Disney started booming because Little Mermaid came right after this. So this is kind of during the really big period for everybody. But yeah, I love John Candy as the albatross. He's very funny in the role. Very good voice work. I could see him doing more. I can't remember him. This is the only time I can remember on top of my mind him doing a voiceover for a animation movie. Maybe he did more, and I'm just not remembering it because he does have a good voice for animation. I think it comes out very well anyway. So yeah, I put Rescuers Down Under here at number 7. At number 6, one of his first roles, I feel like, and that is Stripes. This comes out in 1981, so very early film for him. I don't know if it might be even the first film that he was in. I forgot to look, but because definitely is a younger looking John Candy. He's definitely a smaller supporting character in here. It's obviously a big, movie for Bill Murray at the lead, and Harold Ramis also in it. And as a kid, I remember watching this. It's definitely, I'm guessing it's probably rated R. I remember seeing on TV and they cut out the rated R stuff, but I can still kind of tell like, oh, this is a little naughty for me as a kid. And maybe that's why I liked it so much as well, because I knew there's some naughty stuff going on. But yeah, John Candy plays one, they're in the military, and John Candy plays one of the military recruits coming in with Bill Murray and Harold Ramis and all these other people. Anyways, and again, can't say I remember a lot about. It's been a little while since I've seen this movie, but I do remember really liking it again last time I saw it. Mostly because Bill Murray is so funny. I really like Bill Murray. Very really hitting his stride at this time period. But the things I remember, the big thing is I remember John Candy wrestling two girls, like mud wrestling. There's like they're at a bar or something like that, and there's girls mud wrestling in bikinis. And of course, as a guy, you're like, oh, like this is nice. As a kid. And John Candy gets involved, and he's like involved in the wrestling. These girls with bikinis, and they're all covered with mud. Yeah, so I do remember that part. It's a big part of the movie. I do remember at the end, like they get captured, and Bill Murray and Harold Ramis and these two other girls have to rescue everybody. And I think John Candy runs against a door and like knocks it down or something. Sad. I can't remember a lot, but I put this up because I know this is a movie I've seen more and I know more. And I still think, again, small but good role for John Candy. So I put here at number 6, Stripes. Number 5. Now this is where it gets to movies that I've seen multiple times that I really enjoy, and definitely some of my favorite John Candy performances, I think. Number 5, I put The Great Outdoors from 1988. You can really see, yeah, this, especially this late 80s period, really great time. Maybe the best. Now I'm looking at the list, like, man, this late 80s was great John Candy. That's his John Candy at his peak period, anyways. And yeah, Great Outdoors, another kind of starring role for him. Another one where he plays the father, the wife, and like 2 kids, I believe. And then we got Dan Aykroyd acting along with him. And I always felt like he was more of the straight man. Dan Aykroyd was more of the comedy relief. And the duo kind of works well because Dan Aykroyd's a very unlikable character, his brother-in-law, I believe, in the movie. And John Candy is actually more of a nicer guy, a more likable character. And that's what's great about John Candy, I guess I should mention. I do love the fact that John Candy really good at being funny and likable. He does have this likability factor that comes out in movies, and that's why I think people really like John Candy and saw his movies. But yeah, this one I really enjoy. He takes it's kind of like summer rental. He takes the family on this vacation to like this cabin, in this like rural area, I guess, and they're just it's kind of just about the quirkiness of the characters in the town and stuff, and the different things they do, like they go skiing or something like that. And I believe he's skiing, and he says, "You bastard," and Dan Aykroyd goes, "I think he said go faster." I always thought that was funny as a kid. I was like, "Oh, that was so funny." And then of course they go faster, and he falls off the skis. But there's also bear involved. I remember the whole bear attacks, and there's rainy and stuff like that. And there's a scene where they go to the diner, and there's if you can eat this whole steak or something like that, you get the meal for free, or you get like maybe the meal for free, and you get like a t-shirt. He's like, yeah, sure, I'll try it. And he's hurting by the end of it. It reminds me of Joe Zara, the Chosen One, who would do these eating contests on YouTube. Go to his channel, Chosen One. And man, Joe is just hurting. He's eating this food, trying to accomplish these eating challenges, and you just go, oh my gosh, he's hurting so bad. And that's what I felt like with John Candy. He was like, oh my gosh, he's eating. It's like, man, you love to eat, but there's a point where it just hurts, and you can see he's hurting, and he's like, he eats it all, and then the guy says, no, you still got to eat the fat and the gristle, and he comes away, and he's just like in this like comatose state, just drooling, and they're like cheering him on. He's just like not ready to pass out from all the eating the steak. Anyway, that's a great scene as well. Yeah, really good performance by John Candy. I think, like I said, he can be funny as a straight guy in the role, and actually has some dramatic moments as well that are really done well, and very likable as the father character anyway. So yeah, that's why I put Great Outdoors at number 5. Number 4, I mean, this is definitely, I feel like this got to be in everybody's top 5. One of his best performances, and that's Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Could be number 1. I stuck it here at number 4. And this came out in 1987. Like I said, this late 80s, so good. And this is such a great pairing with John Candy and Steve Martin. Were so great together. Again, I would say this is one where John Candy plays more of the comedic role, and Steve Martin plays more of the straight role. And of course, it's this, button heads. John Candy is kind of somewhat, I don't know why I say doofus, or makes bad decisions. Not as smart as, and I mean, he's a very nice guy, but he's a little goofy, I guess, and he comes, off, not serious or something. I don't know, Steve Martin's very serious and he's always angry, it feels like. Well, John Candy's character is very more happy, I guess, more positive feeling. So the two mesh together really well because they're two opposites. that I really enjoy. And it's obviously one of the great comedies of the 80s period. A big fan of Steve Martin as well. He's great in this time period as well. And one of the funniest scenes ever, I remember seeing this when I was a kid. And I just, oh my gosh, when they're sleeping in the bed together, they're sleeping like in a bed. I guess they only have a single bed because they're traveling to get back home for Thanksgiving, if I remember right. And so they hate each other, but they, for some reason, they're together anyways. And they're on one bed, and I think they're both in their underwear, sleeping in this bed together, and they forget kind of where they are. And I think John Candy's like, like he's in his bed with his wife a little bit, and kind of put his arm around Steve Martin, kind of cuddling him a little bit. And, Steve Martin, they kind of wake up like, oh, what's going on? Steve Martin's like, it's like, well, what are you doing there? Or something like that. And then the funny line is like I think Steve Martin says, where's your other hand? And John Candy says, between two pillows, and Steve Martin goes, those aren't pillows. And then they get up and they're like, and then they go, oh, how about those Chicago Bears or something like that, like trying to get manly, because they go, yeah, it's a hilarious scene, one of the best scenes of all time. If you hadn't seen it, I know I spoiled it there, but man, it's so good. Also the scene where I think John Candy does he fall asleep or something like that, and the car goes off and it's going out of control, and Steve Martin looks over at John Candy, and in his mind he imagines him like the Satan, and laughing like Satan. It's a very funny moment, and the car is like totally destroyed. Anyways, really good travel movie. And also John Candy gives one of his best performances dramatically. The scene where Steve Martin kind of, finally has it and kind of lays into him, and it has it's a great monologue scene of him just laying into John Candy, and I love the, story needs a point to it, which is so funny, the way he says it, stories, they need a point, and then John Candy kind of comes back with this very serious, like, I see you don't like me, but my wife likes me. I like me, and it gives a very dramatic performance there where you go, wow, that was a good comeback of like, instead of laying back into Steve Martin's character, but, kind of, making him look bad by saying, this is me, I'm me, and I'm not going to change, really great scene. Anyways, I talk a lot about Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. That's why it's here at number 4 on my list. Number 3, another great performance during this time period, and is Uncle Buck from 1989. This is definitely one of my favorite comedic performances from John Candy, where he plays the lead. He plays Uncle Buck. He has to babysit his brother's 2 kids, or 3 kids. Yes, 3 kids, I believe. With Macaulay Culkin playing the youngest, was a very, before Macaulay Culkin really blew up with Home Alone. This is pre-Home Alone. And so you get a very young Macaulay Culkin, who's like a cute kid here. Yeah, and he's just very likable. He's like kind of over the top character, I guess you can say. I love stuff like, I heard you stopped smoking cigarettes. Yeah, I promoted to cigars or something like that, and stuff like that. I still love the scene where he goes and finds the niece, who's like at a party, and he thinks, this guy's probably trying to have sex with her. So he, of course, he's going to go stop that. And so he goes and grabs a big drill, and he goes into the party, and he like drills out a hole, and it turns out to be the wrong room. It's another teenager's like trying to have sex, and he's like, oh, wrong room. But then he still like turns out the light, and he starts, hitting the drill. So just to scare the heebie-jeebies out of this guy who's trying to get in with this girl, even though he doesn't know them. He's like, I'm still going to scare the heck out of this guy, and turn the lights off and make that noise with the drill. Always love that scene. But yeah, another great performance by him. I think some dramatic moments as well as good comedic moments, and a very good leading role for him. I think one of his best leading roles in a movie. So that's why Uncle Buck gets here at number 3. Number 2, this is a movie I saw in the movie theater. Absolutely loved it. I came away just loving John Candy's performance, and that is Cool Runnings. Came out in 1993, based on a true story of Jamaican bobsledding team. Yeah, of course, I thought this was an absolutely hilarious movie. I watch it now. It's probably not as funny. It's a little more immature humor, but also it's very inspirational. That's what I love about Disney. You can go on Disney Plus, I believe, and see this movie. But it does have some good inspirational moments as well, and that's what makes it so good. Is it's over the top funny, slapstick, and then that. And John Candy plays a much different character. I feel like, again, this is again towards the end of his career, I would say, and he gives one of his best performances in this movie. He plays the disgruntled uh, bobsled coach who cheated at the Olympics and was disgraced from the American team, whatever. And now he doesn't want to help the Jamaican team, but he knew one of their fathers, so I don't know. He decides to help them out, anyways, and because he thinks they're really good because they're all sprinters and they're really good at running, so he thinks maybe he got the perfect bobsledding team and decides to teach them. But he has a lot of anger inside. I think so. He's not as likable either. I'd say he was one more at first. He does become likable at the end, but at first he's almost somewhat unlikable character, I'd say. But then kind of grows on you over time, and really believes in these guys and really wants to help them get their Olympic dream. At least the main character. Anyways, but yeah, he has one, and again he's dealing with all these people don't like him at the Olympics because he cheated. And so he can't, no one's forgiven him, even though it was in the past. But there's a great moment where I always remember this as a kid going, wow, this is such a great moment. Because I was only like 10 years old when this movie came out. But the main bobsled runner guy, he's kind of the main character in a way. He asks, John Cain's character, why did you cheat, and why did you do it, and all this. And John Candy gives this good dramatic performance, I thought, about why he cheated, and says one of the great lines of like if you're it's great getting a gold medal, but if you can't live with something about the way you live without or something like that, you're never gonna be good enough with it or something like that. Like saying like, a good gold medal is great, but you have to be okay with not winning the gold medal or something like that. And, it's a very inspirational quote. I wish I had it on top of my mind. I could have given it a little bit better there, but hopefully you've seen it, what I'm talking about. If you're never enough with it, if you're not enough without it, you'll never be enough with it, I think was kind of the quote, basically. Great quote, great life lesson, great performance by him. I thought it was like an Oscar. Maybe I'm overdoing it, but I always thought it was like an Oscar type performance. I would have loved to see John Candy get like a supporting Oscar nomination for this role. I thought it was that good. And that's why it's up here number 2. I still think it's one of his best roles, best performances as an actor. So number 1, it's not necessarily his best performance, but I think it's my favorite movie on the list. It's the funniest comedy on the list, one I've seen a million times, and I think he's really funny in it as well, and that is Spaceballs. From 1987. I had to put this in here. And when I was looking at the list, again, it's not his best performance. I would say Cool Runnings, Uncle Buck, Planes, Trains, Automobiles. That's John Candy's best performances, I think, as an actor. But Spaceballs is so funny. I love parody movies, and this is one I've seen since I was a kid. Loved it since I was a kid. Mel Brooks, love these Mel Brooks parody movies. It's one I don't have. It's funny. I don't have these movies on Blu-ray. I need to get like some of these on Blu-ray at some point. He plays Mog, half man, half dog. I'm my own best friend. One of the great lines from here. He's playing kind of the Chewbacca character, but he's a half dog and he has a tail and big ears like that. Overall, though, John Candy is very funny in it. He's one of the mains, though. I mean, he's probably got a pretty big part in it, with Bill Pullman playing the Han Solo character, whatever. It's a very memorable character, though, I think. And again, one of my favorite parody comedies of all time. And when I think of John Candy, I do think about this movie a lot. Like, this is definitely one, as a kid, I've always enjoyed and remember John Candy in it. Anyways, so that's it. Spaceballs, number 1. So tell me what do you think? Is that a good number 1? Please comment. What is your favorite John Candy movie, or do you know these movies? What do you think? And thank you to the subscriber who put the suggestion out there. I really appreciate you, being involved on the channel and, supporting me. Really appreciate it. And I hope you enjoyed this top 10 that I gave. I hope it's a good top 10, a good enough top 10, hopefully. I did justice to John Candy, who, is one of the great comedic actors. Died way too soon, unfortunately. Tragically died, So, but besides that, thank you for watching this video. Thank you for liking it. And thank you to all of my subscribers for supporting the channel. I appreciate you all, and I hope you have a good day.